How many of those do? Oh, she has a lot, I think. But like, losing out on like knowing these different backstories and stuff like that is another wild one, because you sit there and it's like there's just so much to it, right? Like just different pantheons of like different gods and stuff like that. Like I love hearing about them. Like people sit there and they're like, oh yeah, the MCU is great, and like they like Thor and like they like the Norse gods and stuff, but they don't actually know about like the Norse gods and all this other stuff. They just like certain representations. Ganesha? Yeah, I totally butchered that name and I know it, so I'll apologize for that. But yeah. No. Assault.
Hole in your shirt.
You leave the hole in my shirt alone. It's a good shirt. Oh, she's fingering my hole, guys. She loves it. I may not be here tomorrow. I may be unalived. But yeah, like I don't know if it's like Ganesha or Ganesh.
Ganache?
No, that's for food.
Oh.
We're if I remember correctly, we're talking about I can't remember if it's Hindu or a different Indian belief system. It's the elephant one, correct? Or is because I think there's another one with a similar sounding name, and she's got like the 4 or the 6 arms. Because I think that might be a different one with like a similar sounding name, but I may be wrong about that too. But like, you know, like the Norse gods, the Greek gods, like people love seeing them in fucking love you, like seeing them in like movie representations. But like when you actually go and look into the actual like pantheons of these gods, it's fucking crazy. Like I'd love to see balanced for you. I'd love to see more like Native American gods and like Indian gods and stuff like that. And like because like I've only heard like bits and pieces, but like they seem like they're so amazing. And like they're like when you look at them and like look at the backs, the history of it, and the friggin' just like the different things different like they represent. it makes the world so much more interesting. And like sometimes you can see where like a lot of them fit into others, like especially with like them being either named something similar, or like the ones that are like each the god of the god of war, like the god of this or the god of that. They seem to be like similar entities, even though they're different pantheons. But like culture is such like a fascinating thing. From what I understand, many tribes didn't have specific gods. Yeah, just respected the spirits. And like that's what I like, even stuff like that. But like even stuff like that, when you sit there and it's like, you know, respecting nature and like, you know, not specifically having gods, but like different aspects of nature, like having like even just like a spirit in general. Like you look at them and it's like this is amazing. It's like why would you not want to like learn about that? Like the spirit of the earth, like, you know, wind spirits, water spirits, fire spirits, like just like Gaia in general as like an overall earth spirit, not necessarily like the element of earth. Many Mayans and Aztecs had God, but the rest of us just respected terra. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I mean. Like there are so many different things and so many different belief systems and like structures towards what. Why do you? Mother is gone. No. What? No. Stop the nibbles. No, I don't want the nib. No, I'm not following you. Stop. No, stop. You're not showing off for the people. But like, I'm not playing with you, dog. You're fine. You were already to the outs, and Mother is not here. You have food and water. Or maybe you don't have water. I'll go check the water. Just give me a second. Let me gets very, very, very anal retentive when he doesn't have the waters. You don't have the waters. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was correct. He was out of the waters. But he's still being ridiculous. Luffy, stop. Back up. Back up.
I have a question.
What is the question? She is gone.
Well, do
She has left us.
we have the fixes of Max?
No.
Damn it! No!
The fight's right here.
Yeah, like the different like not even just like the deist religions, like the different ones that are just like innately like spiritual in the sense of like, you know, respecting like, you know, the earth and the elements and stuff like that. Yeah. But like it like just like different things like that.
Alright, please off.
Yes. Crunchyroll's free anyways, just like if you watch it without a subscription, there's ads. But but just like all of the just like all the like the culture and like the traditions and stuff like that. Yeah, so like it's just one of those things that's like such a fascinating thing to learn about that, and like I feel like should have a lot more representation in games as like a whole. Like one example, like as much as I didn't enjoy the gameplay for it, Hellblade Setsuna, the first one, I wanna play the second one anyways just to see if they improved anything. But like Hellblade Setsuna, playing through that game, just like watching it and going through everything, learning the things that you learn in the game, like it was just, it was such a trip.
I've got a few screws loose.
Oh no, I'm almost out.
Same as you.
Like just sitting there and like, you know, going into hell to save your loved one and like learning all these different like things about like the plane of death and, you know, just like acceptance and stuff like that. It's just like you sit there and it's like, wow, like what is even going on? And like, don't get me wrong, like I love the God of War games, but I still feel like the God of War games wasn't a good representation of either the Greek or the North pantheon. Like I'd love to see something more like better ingrained about it. Like go more off of like the different like lore and stuff that's like actually out there with like the mythos and like the religions and stuff that like it's all based on. Because I feel like that would be like an amazing thing to watch, whether it be like any pantheon at all. So like seeing that, like whether it be like indigenous culture doing that, like whether it be like African culture, like Greek, Norse, Japanese, like so many of like the Japanese mythologies and stuff like that are fucking wild. There's just like so much out there to draw from, but like people like they're all sticking with like the main core things that like everybody sees over and over again. And they usually represent it in the same way as well, like, which is kind of sad. Because you sit there and like the Norse gods and like the Greek gods and stuff are always portrayed in like
Look out for yourself.
with Bishamon. I don't know who that is. Care to elaborate? But like, I've been naming all these, but I haven't like fucking mentioned like Egyptians, like the Egyptian like mythos, like fucking Ra and everything like that, like fucking wild. Like they're like obviously with Moon Knight out, like they kind of Japanese God of War. But like with the God of War series, there's like so much they can do. Because like obviously, you know, you've taken out the Greek gods, you've taken out the Norse gods. It's like, you know, just like you could easily, an Anubis game would be cool. Oh, 100%. You could easily take the God of War game on forever for the most part. Like right now, obviously Kratos is getting old. So, you know, when they start making more of them, it's going to have to go more towards his son. But like when you sit there and look at like Atreus is basically is Loki, and it's just like, oh, okay. So that makes for a whole other cool aspect of it. But like having him jump from pantheon to pantheon, just trying to like, you know, live a normal life and getting in these situations and like learning about these new gods and like stuff like that is like would be like amazing. Yeah, next game needs to be God of Mischief. But like it's just there's too much out there not to friggin' not to go into depth and use other pantheons, because like Greek and Norse pantheons are just they're overused at this point. They use them in everything. Like you don't see anything like Egyptian. You don't see anything like from different other parts of Africa. You don't see anything from like you don't see anything really from India. You don't really see anything from why am I trying to remember the word? Indigenous people. Like there's so much out there to like draw from, but they always draw from the same fucking things. And like that's I think that's probably one of my biggest gripes in the gaming industry right now is the fact that there's no, I guess, like, and like to an extent there is, but there's like no original ideas. Like it's hard to do other pantheons because we get the anti-woke BS. You're not wrong, and like that's why like I feel like, but like they still could have did it years ago too. Like as much as that's a big problem in the gaming industry right now, like the anti-woke bullshit, is they could have did it years ago too. They could have easily started doing stuff like that, but like it's the rinse and repeat. Not enough people know about, you know, one or the other. So it's like, why veer off that? Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of developers and stuff that are starting to do it. Like mostly indie developers, 100%. But there's a lot more developers trying to go that route. And like, I'm hoping they succeed so bad. Was I supposed to jump up there? I think I might have jumped up there. Let me see. Oh, there it is. But like, there's more of them trying to give it a go, and obviously, like, you know, they're gonna be like lower end budget games for sure. But like, there's so many indie games out there that are like top tier. Like, it doesn't need to be a AAA studio or a AAA game to put something out there that's worth playing. And I wish more indie studios would be able to get out there and get the funding for these, because like there's some games that have been on the back burner for years, or like that people have wanted to get out that just haven't, just because, you know, funding is a big thing. But like like there's like especially like even Final Fantasy, there's so many like underlying mythologies in Final Fantasy that people don't get unless they're like hardcore into the Final Fantasy fandom. Because like 90% of the summons in these games are based on different like Norse and Greek myths and like different gods from like multiple pantheons. Like Shiva. Like, if I remember correctly, Shiva or Shiva, depending on like which way it's properly pronounced, is an Indian god, if I remember correctly, and she's fucking hardcore. So like you sit there and look at that, and I'm pretty sure Ifrit is one. There's, I don't know if it's an older religion or a newer religion. Regardless, I'm pretty sure there's a religion based around dragons, and Bahamut is like one of them, or Bahamut might even be from a different pantheon altogether. I'm not 100% sure. But like all of these different summons are based on different myths, and like so many people don't understand that because they like, you know, a lot of people just play the game to play the game. But like a lot of the underlying backstories and underlying like information that's used to make like these games, whether it be summons or worlds or just like the overall like feel of these games, is wild. It's absolutely insane. Like I feel like if they went and did like a game based on like East Indian gods, I think it would be amazing. Like some of the gods that they have over there are like the lore behind them and like just like the way they are is crazy, and they're so cool. But like, you know, we don't hear about them a lot, so obviously there's not really a lot of... I'm pretty sure there are a few games, but not in terms of like ones that are like vastly well known. Guardian Armlet, what is this? Final Fantasy X? Haha. But like there's just so many that like, and they like not even they wouldn't even have to really make it like an educational thing. Like they could easily just fucking like bring them in just to give like a little bit of a backstory on them, or even just make it in like kind of like some kind of like in-game lore, I guess. Power circlet. Gotta make you stronger, man. Nope, not the credit chips. The credit chips are fucking useless. They're here for selling. Spark plugs. Nope, those are for selling. The fuck are you for? Oh, future transformation catalysts. Okay. Oh no, I gotta sell? Yeah, sell stuff. Sell stuff. Fuck! Well, like, I find it funny because, like, there are so many, like, little things like that that will 100% turn people off of games, and I, like, it's like, I'm sorry, like, and I don't care if I offend anybody with this statement, but it's very, very stupid, and like, makes people look very, very stupid, because there's so many good games out there that, like, people could really enjoy and that would, like, change things around so bad and, like, improve the gaming industry, but people just don't want to see it because woke, even though it really isn't. Like, so many different, like, gods, pantheons, backgrounds, like, that would 100% improve the gaming industry in a huge margin, and like they're just looked aside because, you know, people don't want to fucking offend somebody else because of inclusivity. Like that's a fucking bad thing. And like I find it funny that a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, it's not about that. It's about like how well written the game is." But then like 5 minutes later, when a brand new game comes out that hasn't even shown gameplay, or you can't play, so you don't know how well it's written or what the story is like, and they call it a terrible game because it's woke. And it's just like, what do you mean? It's like, how do you even know it's badly written? You just said it doesn't matter as long as it's a well-written story and has well-written characters. but you haven't played the game, and yet now it's badly written and has horrible characters, just because the characters aren't what you wanted. Prime example of that, like, as much as I don't want to go on a rant about, like, games that are coming out, The Witcher 4. Like, The Witcher 4, like, I've played the first 3 games. I love the first 3 games. Like, the canon ending for 3 is Geralt passing the reins to Ciri. So, The Witcher 4 makes sense for it to be Ciri. And, like, people are complaining because, oh no, I want to play as Geralt, the retired guy who just retired and trained Ciri. Or, like, oh, she's not attractive when Ciri is, like, in the new games and, like, the new trailers is very much attractive. She just looks like she's older because she's older. Like, if you've ever seen a woman age in real life, they age. Like, women get older. Get over it. Like, I'm sorry that they're not a teenage girl. My apologies. Because that's what a lot of them fight over when a character gets changed and they look different. It's like, oh, the character's ugly now. It's like, they don't look as good looking as they did before. It's like, oh, so you like that you're simping over that, like, child in the previous game. I understand. And, like, I realize, I'm pretty sure Ciri, if I remember correctly, Ciri was in her early 20s. I think she was 21 in 3. But, like, still, I think in the new game, she's supposed to be in her, like, 30s. It's like, I'm sorry, she's not gonna look like she's in her, her late teens or early 20s that far down the line. Like, she's not ugly, she's just older. Like, she's gonna have some wrinkles and blemishes. That's just how people age. Like, some people obviously age better than others, 100%. Oh, look, it's a Carbuncle plushie. But, like, when you start basing games off of, like, that's why one of the things I hate about new games is so many things are fucking based off of graphics. If the graphics aren't good, it's, you know, a terrible game. And obviously not everyone thinks that. And, like, not all games are like that. Because, like, there are some games that have, like, less tier graphics, but, like, the second you make the way a game looks about how good the game is, I instantly, like, negate your opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, we have the technology that we should be able to make good games with good graphics, but, like, you look back at anything, I'm gonna go even, like, really far back, and, like, Super Nintendo to regular Nintendo, just, like, PlayStation 1 and Super Nintendo had some of the best games in existence. And as much as I love pixel graphics, those games looked like actual fucking garbage. Like, they really did. Like, Final Fantasy VII was a terrible looking game, and you can't tell me otherwise. Like, Final Fantasy VII looked like hot garbage. They were made of squares. But, like, Minecraft is a perfect example of that. Minecraft is all squares of everything. Minecraft isn't, like, visually stunning unless you put fucking, you know, shaders and mods in it. But, like, you sit there and there's some games out right now that look absolutely beautiful and they play like hot garbage. Especially in comparison to, like, and, like, even just story-wise. Like, their stories are pieces of hot garbage, which is, like, the main thing if you're playing any kind of, like, RPG, whether it be action RPG, tactical RPG, fucking turn-based RPG, strategy RPG. If you're playing an RPG and you're not playing for a good story, and, like, don't get me wrong, you have to enjoy the combat, which is why some people like action RPGs over, like, turn-based RPGs and stuff like that. But, like, if you're playing a game without worrying about, like, and your main focus isn't, like, the story, then you're probably not playing the right series of games. Like, that's like when I see people that complain about, some of these, RPGs and, like, whether it be JRPG or, like, action RPGs, and they're complaining about the game when like the main game they play is Call of Duty for the multiplayer. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I love playing some team deathmatch and stuff like that. I love playing Apex for like the battle royale aspect. But like, if you're playing these like most people that play multiplayer games, especially, I find, not all of them, because like I love the lore behind Apex, like I love the backstories for fighting games like Tekken. But like most people who play those games without story. Like most of them don't play the campaign. They play it for Warzone. They play it for Team Deathmatch. they're not there to play the campaign, and that's like a lot of people. I'd even give it like 89 to 90% of the people that buy Call of Duty buy it for the multiplayer and not the story. And to see those people, or like they play sports games, and like I'm not shitting on sports games either. Like I like one of my favorite sports games is like Blitz the League, and like I love wrestling games. Wrestling games are a fucking ton of fun. But when you're playing when that's your main focus of video games, and you start like shitting on games that are RPGs because of like the most ridiculous thing, because it doesn't look like the characters aren't pretty. Or they have some kind of inclusion, then you're just talking out your ass. I'm dying, apparently, but like, it's like, and that's just the way I look at it. Like, and like when people sit there and look at like a series of games they've played forever, and then they change something so it seems to be a little bit more prevalent when it was prevalent in the first place. Like one of the main gripes I can say is like the Dragon Age series. Like they sit there and like, oh my god, I can't believe there's all this woke bullshit in fucking Dragon Age. Like what Dragon Age have you been playing? Like Dragon Age has had like gay people forever, and like you can literally sleep with fucking any of your companions. It's like, this has been there forever. It's like, oh, but like the trans character fucking pandering to people and going like a full, like, I think it's like a 2-minute cutscene or something. But I've been, like, I haven't played through it yet. I have it, and I'm enjoying the game so far. It's a little weird. The thing I find weird about it is how they changed the combat style. But like, when you sit there, and I've heard now, I haven't gotten to that point in the game, but if I've heard correctly, the cutscene that they're talking about, that everybody's complaining about, is an optional character side quest cutscene. So you don't even have to do it. And like all the other things, like that one cutscene, I think it was like Asmongold was talking about it, where like you bring up the mirror and you can give yourself like a trans identity. It's like, oh, they're not even giving us an option. We're just automatically a trans character. It's like, no, there's a back button. It's like that's part of building your character. Like you look in there and there's like a bunch of options, and one of them is like setting up a trans identity, where like you get a couple dialogue options a couple options that make your character different for the story. It's like, that's completely skippable. Like pretty much every like obviously there's the trans character in there, but like everything that literally like puts it like right there for you to like I guess deal with, if that's the way you want to word it, is all optional stuff. So it's like you know, like where they were complaining, like another thing they were complaining about for the character creation was the surgery scars, and it's just like skippable. It's just an option there for people to like feel heard and feel represented. Don't have to add it in. It's just like an alternate scar option. I know it's like not in the scar section, but like, why does it matter? It's a slider. It's just like when you go to customize your character, you can like tweak out the face like crazy. That'd be like getting mad that they have a nose slider option so that you can make your nose bigger or smaller. It's like, that doesn't affect your character, that doesn't affect your gameplay, but it makes some people that play the game happy because they feel seen. Sorry. And like every other one of those options in cutscenes is pretty much like skippable. And like if it's something that where like they're talking about it and you don't want to hear it, skip the scene. Most scenes or cutscenes are multi-part, so you can skip parts of them and Like, if it's something you don't want to hear like that, fucking, the second they start talking about it, skip button. Skip button. Like, it's not something that you have to deal with if you don't want to. Like, these games have skippable things or missable things. And a lot of them where, like, if it's inclusionary, like, especially if it's, like, character-related or side character-related, is 100% optional and you don't have to deal with it. Like, I like seeing it because I have friends in those demographics, and the fact that I have friends in those demographics, I want them to feel included. I want them to feel seen. I don't want them to feel like they're an outcast when 90% of the gaming industry is